Hi, everybody. It's Peter Schiff. This is Monday, December 28th, 2009. Well, Congress is now trying to reconcile the House and the Senate versions of the health care bill. Unfortunately, I'm sure some type of reconciled version is going to pass and be signed by the president. You know, I talked last week about some of the ways that the health care bill violates the U.S. Constitution. I thought of another way that I didn't mention. If you look at your Constitution, I have mine in front of me, and look at Article 4, Section 2. It says, the citizens of each state shall be entitled to all privileges and immunities of the citizens in the several states. Now, basically what that means is that the government can't treat the citizens in one state differently from the citizens in another state. It just says it right there in black and white. Now, we already know that what this health care bill does is it has special exemptions for two states in order to buy the support of their legislatures so that the people in these states are being treated differently from people in other states. Well, that's clearly unconstitutional. It violates Article 4, Section 2. But, you know, the government seems to violate the Constitution with impunity. I already went over the many other constitutional principles that the health care bill violates. But, you know, Congress violates the Constitution all the time. Let me go over another example that a lot of people don't appreciate this. I find out as I'm on the campaign trail. But one of the worst pieces of legislation to pass Congress was the Patriot Act. Now, of course, the minute you say you're against the Patriot Act, people think, well, what are you? You're unpatriotic? How can you be against the Patriot Act? Well, the title is very deceptive. The government often gives a title to a bill that's the opposite of what the bill actually does. So, for example, if the government wants to complicate taxes, they'll pass a bill called the Tax Simplification Act. Obviously, everybody is for tax simplification, so nobody wants to vote against that bill. Meanwhile, the bill actually complicates taxes. If they labeled it, you know, the Tax Complication Act, then nobody would be in favor of it. You know, it's interesting, you know, the government tries to go after the private sector for truth in advertising or truth in lending, but the government is not truthful at all when it comes to legislating. So the Patriot Act really should have been labeled the Unpatriotic Act. But then nobody would have supported it. After all, who's going to vote to be unpatriotic? Everybody wants to vote for the Patriot Act because nobody wants to be accused of not being a patriot, especially in the aftermath of 9/11. But the Patriot Act has some horrible aspects to it. One of them in particular that hits me particularly hard because I'm in the financial services industry is the Anti-Money Laundering Act. Now let me explain what this act does. First of all, theoretically, it's supposed to stop terrorists by trying to catch them laundering money. I don't know how much money laundering the terrorists are doing, but theoretically, we're trying to keep the terrorists from putting their money in U.S. financial institutions because, after all, they might then be able to tap into that money to finance their terrorist activities. Well, to begin with, why would we want to do that? Why would we want to keep the terrorists from sending their money to American financial institutions? I mean, they would lose it. I mean, wouldn't it have been great if the terrorists had sent some money to Bernie Madoff? What if they had, you know, sent some money to American brokerage firms and they used it to buy subprime mortgages? What if they bought stock in Lehman Brothers or Fannie Mae or General Motors? They would have lost a fortune. The terrorists would be broke. You know, now they're all buying gold, right? Theoretically, if they don't want to send their money here because they're worried about the Patriot Act, they're sending it to Switzerland or they're keeping it in gold, in which case they have a lot more money today to commit acts of terrorism. But of course, the terrorism is just a smokescreen, the terrorism. That's to get people to vote for a bill that they never would vote for if they couldn't try to couch it in this patriotic terms in the aftermath of 9/11. What the Anti-Money Laundering Act is really going after is American citizens who may be trying to avoid paying income taxes. It's really going after tax evaders. But if they named it as a bill against tax evasion, they never could have passed it. Now, of course, I'm not defending tax evasion, but that's what the bill is about. And of course, as the government gets more and more oppressive, as taxes get higher and higher, more and more people are going to look to evade those taxes simply to survive. And what the government has done is put into place a mechanism to try to catch them. But when they've done that, they've destroyed all of our constitutional rights of financial privacy, involuntary servitude. Let me explain what I have to do as a stockbroker according to the anti-money laundering provisions of the Patriot Act. I have to spend a tremendous amount of money putting up systems to spy on my clients. I have to train my brokers how to spy on my clients. We have to look at every single transaction that our customers make. and we have to go over them with a formula and try to ferret out behavior that, according to certain government rules and regulations, looks suspicious. Now, we don't have to have any proof that they've done anything wrong. We just have to find out if it looks like they are engaging in activity that could be indicative that they're doing something wrong. Mainly that they're not paying their taxes is the most, because there's no terrorism going on here. So most of it is probably a tax evasion. And so I have to look for all this information. I have to question my clients about their finances, where they got their money, what they're going to do with their money, monitor the money coming into the account, out of the account, monitor the transactions in the account, specifically looking for suspicious activity. If I find any suspicious activity, I'm required to tell the government about it. I've got to tell FINRA, the regulators, about the information. Now, I can't tell my customers, right? I can't tip them off. I have to be quiet, and I've got to give the information to FINRA so it can be used, theoretically against terrorists, but more likely just against ordinary American citizens who may or may not be cheating on their taxes. Nobody knows. But in the process, there is no financial privacy. All financial privacy is lost. I am forced to be an unpaid FBI agent and IRS agent for the U.S. government. It costs me a tremendous amount of money, which, of course, I have to pass along to my customers in higher fees or commissions. And my clients have absolutely no rights of privacy. They know that anything that they say to me, anything they do in their account, that I have to watch it, and I have to report them to the authorities if anything appears to be suspicious. They might have done nothing wrong. And the problem here is I'm not just required to report crimes. I'm required to report activity that may be innocent, but simply may be indicative of some type of criminal behavior. And if I don't do that, if I don't prove to the regulators that I'm doing that, I can be fined. I can be shut down. They can close my firm down. I can even go to jail. Could you believe that? This is America. This is the Patriot Act, turning Americans into spies on their neighbors, telling us that we have to look for this type of activity in advance, and we have to demonstrate to the government that we're doing it. If not, we're committing a crime. We can be fined. We can go to jail. That's the Patriot Act? Come on. That's the most unpatriotic piece of legislation there is. It violates so many constitutional provisions. It's not even funny. And this is the type of legislation that I'm afraid of. Because as this recession worsens, as it becomes a depression, as the stimulus wears off and the horrible side effects are left, when this economic collapse really gets into a higher gear, which it's going to do probably sometime between 2010 and 2012, apart from the horrific damage that it's going to do to our economy, I'm worried about what's left of our constitutional rights. What more terrible pieces of legislation, like health care, like the Patriot Act, are we going to get where we have to surrender our rights because the government comes to our rescue to rescue us from a financial crisis that they created, and they simply take advantage of the opportunity and the political fervor to trample on what's left of our constitutional rights. You know, I saw a clip, I think it was on the Glenn Beck show, and actually I'm going to be a guest on Glenn Beck's show today. If you see this video blog before then, you can tune in. Glenn's not going to be there. I think Charles Payne is the host. It should be interesting because I used to be on TV with Charles Payne quite a bit, predicting the economic crisis. And not only did he tell me I was wrong, but he questioned my patriotism. Now, Charles is now criticizing the Obama administration for the same reasons that I was criticizing Bush. So I wonder if he's changed his tune now that the bad policy is being championed by the Democrats instead of the Republicans. Maybe he doesn't consider it unpatriotic to bring it up. But what I'm afraid of is that type of legislation that we're going to get when the economic crisis kicks into high gear, that we get. Oh, now I remember what I was going to talk about. So on that Glenn Beck clip, Nancy Pelosi was asked a question about what the constitutional authority is for the government with respect to what they were doing with health care. And her response was something like, "What, are you kidding me? Or is that a joke?" As if it doesn't even matter. As if there is no constitutional restraint on government power. The government could do anything that they want. And you know what? She's right. They can. They can do anything they want. That's the problem. Where is the Supreme Court? Where are our judges? Where are the people who are supposed to be holding these guys accountable and holding them in check? We American people have been sold out by every single branch of government. Anyway, that's it for today. I'll be back again soon. Take care.